comes from Paul's letter to Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13. Some of the most beautiful words that Paul wrote, and most inspirational. He writes, I know what it is to have little, and I know what it is to have plenty. In any and all circumstances, I have learned the secret of being well fed and going hungry, of having plenty and being in need. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. God adds His blessing to the reading of this word. Well, what a blessing it was for me and for my family to be able to spend several weeks on vacation, traveling around, going up into the mountains, spending time together. What a blessing it is to be able to do that. To take vacation. Not everybody is able to, but it does provide a lot, gives us the rest we need. It's restful of our bodies and also of our minds to be able to have a few days, a few weeks where you don't have to think of certain responsibilities and other things. But it's also important not only for our minds and bodies, it can also be of great benefit to our spirits. Vacation, an intentional time, Sabbath time, can be a chance to be spiritually renewed. Now, I have a wonderful reminder of this in my life. It's actually a part of my letter of calling here at Kings Highway Christian Church. As the letter of calling talks about time away, one thing it says is that part of the time that I spend away should be dedicated to spiritual renewal. Spiritual renewal. This is actually very common among churches and ministers, giving time for spiritual renewal. And different ministers do it in different ways. There are some ministers who, actually I've got one friend who goes to a Catholic monastery in New Mexico. And really, he does the whole monastery thing for a week. He puts on the robe, and he goes to the 5 or 6 different services they have during the day, and he sleeps in a rough bed, all those things, doesn't talk much, time of prayer and contemplation, and for him, that's time of spiritual renewal. I know another minister who goes to a Buddhist monastery in California and pretty much does similar things along those lines. I guess they have to do that. We don't have any disciples monasteries, so they need to go to other places. But there are other ways, of course, we can be spiritually renewed, and we don't have to leave town in order to do it, though that sometimes can be helpful. We can spend our days in study, spend time in prayer, in reflection. But let me tell you what's most helpful to me. Let me tell you the way that I spend my time, what I do during my time, especially time away, that has been most helpful to me to recharge my spiritual batteries. And that is to reflect on what I have to be thankful for. To take time intentionally every day to reflect on the blessings of life. All that God has given me. All the blessings I have, the blessings that those around me have. I found this to be such a powerful tool for orienting my life spiritually that it's actually something that I have begun to do every day. And I don't think there is anything that I have done that has made me more contented, more, for lack of a better word, happy. And taking time at the beginning of each day, usually it's even before I get out of bed in the morning, to think about 3 things that I am grateful for. That re-energizes me. That helps me point that arrow, the compass of my spiritual life, in the right direction. It gets me oriented in life. I'll tell you, it is important. Because there are so many opportunities in this life to focus on the negative. To focus on the things we cannot have. To focus on the things we cannot do. To focus on the people that we are not with at this moment. To focus on our mistakes, our regrets, our disappointments. We can, if we so choose, define our lives in just this way. When we ask ourselves the question, who am I? Well, we define it by all the things we cannot do. That is who I am. I had this experience not long ago. Now I always feel like that I am very blessed as far as materially able to just about get whatever I want. All those things is a great blessing in my life. Always have been. Never had really any terrible times of want in my life. But I was reading through a magazine. I can't remember where I picked it up. It may have been at the doctor's office, something like that. And I picked up the magazine, and I think it was for more affluent people. A magazine for the more affluent folks. And so I turned the first page, and there was an ad, and it was a beautiful, beautiful ad for a watch. And it's a watch I will never own. A watch I will never be able to afford. And then I turn the next page, and there's a picture, and this is amazing to me, a picture of an airliner. It's a seat on an airline where they give you your own little cubicle. It's not just a seat, you've got your own little area on the plane. And then you've got a chair that fully reclines and your own TV thing, and of course the flight attendant there to wait on you and bring you whatever you need. And I realized, well, that's a seat I will never sit in. I'm not going to be able to afford that seat. And then the next page was a hotel in some fancy town with amenities, wonderful amenities, again, outside my budget. And even though I generally feel very blessed, I put that magazine down thinking all the things I cannot do. Here in this world where I'm surrounded by abundance, instead of looking at what I do have, instead of being grateful for what is in my life, thinking about all the things I cannot have. A temptation to define ourselves in this way, especially in our culture where there is such abundance. The lifestyles of the rich and famous, we see it all over, and it's fun to look at. But boy, it sure can take a negative turn when we start feeling bad about our lives for all the things we cannot afford. And you know, in that magazine, it didn't matter that I don't wear a watch generally. It didn't matter that the place that airline flew, I never want to go there. Or the hotel had all these amenities I would never use. It didn't matter. I even felt a little bit bad, even when there were things that I never would want to have, just knowing I couldn't have them. And so we can define ourselves in that way. We can take the blessings of our lives, some of the best things that God gives us, our jobs, the purpose, the reason that we're here, our families, our relationships. And instead of seeing them as blessings, we start to see, all the things we cannot do because of my job. All the things I cannot do because of my responsibilities at home, because of these responsibilities to my friends. I'd like to go to Arkansas this weekend. I'd love to do that. I have the money to do it. But no, I've got all these things I have to do, all these responsibilities. And so I start defining myself by the places I cannot go. I'm a person who cannot go here, and I cannot go there. I have too many responsibilities, and we take even these blessings of life, and we start defining ourselves, our lives, by the negative of who am I in this world? Well, I'm a person who cannot afford to do this, and I cannot afford to do that. I'm a person with all these responsibilities, and I cannot go here, and I cannot go there, and I cannot do this. All the things we cannot do. And that's the way we think of ourselves. It's true, too, of the people that we want to be with. But they are no longer here. We cannot be with them. They are loved ones who have passed on. They are friends that have moved away. They are people we care about who live in other places. And we would love to have their company. We would love to be with them. And so we start defining ourselves by who is not in our lives. Who am I? I am a person who has lost this person and that person. And we quit seeing all the people that are in our lives. We quit defining ourselves. We stop thinking of ourselves as people who are blessed with friends and with church and with neighbors and with community. Instead, we are focused on what we do not have. We think about this too as we age. The experience of getting older is an experience, so much of it is an experience of turning loose. Things we used to do. Oh, and how easy it is to define ourselves in that way. I am a person who used to be able to do this, but I'm no longer able to. Instead of seeing the blessings of this time in our lives, we just see the negatives. This week I had spent, I think it was Tuesday, I spent the morning here at church, and I was sitting at my desk all morning, and I come home. I don't know what made me do this, but I came home for lunch, and I got out of my car, and I looked over at the little planting bed that was there, and I noticed my neighbors had just gotten a new fence, and I noticed that there was this big block of concrete, probably about this big, so what, about 40 or 50 pounds. And they had dug it up, and they had left it there. And I had seen it a few times, and I thought, oh, this is a good time. I think I'll go over and pick that concrete up, and I'll just throw it over into the yard off of the porch here. Now, 15-year-old David could have managed it with a little struggle. 30-year-old David would have had no trouble. But let me just tell you, 46-year-old David probably should have done a little stretching before he picked up that big block of concrete. And no sooner had I picked it up than I knew that the next few days I was going to be in pain. There are some things in our lives we cannot do as we get older. It's not easy to do. My parents just got back from a wonderful little trip to Seattle. They'd never been up there before. They went to Seattle. They toured the Boeing plant. They went and had coffee at the first Starbucks. They went over to the Olympic Peninsula and they enjoyed the national park there. They used all their frequent flyer miles to pay for tickets because they said this is their last trip like this. They'll still visit family, they'll go to Colorado every once in a while, but they're not going to take any more big vacations. They're in their 80s now, and that time of their life is over. As we get older, there are things that we can no longer do. What a temptation it is to see that as who we are. To define ourselves by those limitations. And so too can our past do this. Wait, define ourselves by our past. Past mistakes. Past regrets. Past disappointments. Past mistakes. Things we've done in the past and we still carry the guilt of them around with us. Still carry the guilt of that each and every day. Past disappointments. Other people have disappointed us. And so that's how we define ourselves, by all the ways that others have disappointed us in our lives. You see, all of these things, all of them, are little prisons we build ourselves. We define ourselves in this way, and so we lock ourselves into these prisons. And some of them are real, some of them are true. We only have so much money, we only have so much time. We are just the age we are. There's some things we don't do, we can't do anymore, but so many of them are fake. They are false. We put ourselves in prisons and define ourselves by negatives that we have simply come up with in our own minds. Oh, we all get good at this. We all have a list, don't we, of things, oh, we don't do. I don't do this particular thing. And so we know, and we say automatically when it comes up, no, I don't do that. No, I can't go with you there. I don't dance. No, I can't volunteer to do VBS. I'm not good with kids. No, I don't want to go there because I don't like crowds. No, I can't say that prayer because I don't like public speaking. No, I shouldn't do that because I'm out of shape. No, I won't do that because I'm really set in my ways. I'm a champion at this myself. I have got a long list of things that I simply will not do simply because I tell myself that there are things I don't do. I won't do. But every once in a while, I break out of it. For some reason, I find myself doing something that I usually would say no to, and it's usually a wonderful experience. I think Christian folk ought to be particularly good at breaking out of these kind of things that we tell ourselves we don't do, shouldn't do, can't do. God is leading us to all sorts of amazing ministries in our lives, all sorts of amazing things that we can do if we choose. to say yes, if we choose to break down these walls of, no, I don't do that, I can't do that, and we decide to stretch ourselves in our lives, I think that's what Paul is talking about in the wonderful verse we had for today. How can we define ourselves in life? We can define ourselves by the negative, by the bad. We can define our families that way, our lives that way, our church that way, our community that way, our nation that way. We can see the world in this way, through all the negatives and through all the bad. Some of these things are true. They are real limitations in our lives. It is true that in some ways the world is not what it should be. Our lives are not what we would want them to be. Yes, we have regrets. Yes, there are disappointments in our lives. But as Christian folk, we have, how often we forget this, we have been set free. Set free of our past, certainly. Set free of past mistakes. Set free of the disappointments that others have brought into our lives, because we can forgive them just as we have been forgiven. And even though there are things in our lives that limit us, we do not have to define ourselves in that way. Paul, when he wrote these verses today, was talking about real limitations in this life. I know what it is to have food, and I know what it is to go hungry. I know what it is to have everything I need, and I know what it is to want. And Paul is saying, I can focus on the negative. But he says, and I think this is the best part of this verse, it comes right in the middle. Paul says, I have learned the secret. I have learned the secret. I can do all things through Christ. I can do all things through Christ. We don't have to live in these prisons, these walls that we build up ourselves, these walls of disappointment, focusing on the negative. Who am I? I'm the person who can't go here. I'm the person who can't do that. I'm the person who's been disappointed. I'm the person who's made mistakes. No, when we start following Christ, we start looking to the future. And we are hopeful, whether we are brand new in life, a new little baby here, or a young person coming to be baptized, or a couple coming to be married, or whether we are on our last breath, we have hope. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. We can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. We don't have to define ourselves by what we cannot do, by the pain we are suffering right now, for we have hope. Hope in our future. And we know, we see the blessings that are all around us. We don't let the negative blind us to all that we do have in our lives. Well, my prayer is that in this week ahead, and in every moment of your life, you will have this chance, this opportunity, in these days to come, perhaps in the moments as this worship concludes, to see yourself, to see your life, to define yourself by what you don't have, by what you can't get. Remember, that is your choice to do that. And my prayer is that together, all of us will be able to say, no matter what we are facing, in the days to come, the weeks and months and the years ahead that are left to us, even when we are faced with the difficult and the disappointing, we can say together, we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. Let us bow in prayer. Loving God, we give thanks that you are with us through good times and through bad. Loving God, we ask for your help. Help us, even in the midst of difficulty, to see the blessings that exist all around us. Help us, Lord, to see